We had looked at just different types of traits based on autosomal or sex-linked trait, right? If it is located on the autosomal chromosome or autosome, we will call it autosomal trait. And if it is located on the sex chromosome, we will call it sex-linked trait. And we had also looked at what are those autosomal recessive trait. So these are located on the autosomal or autosomes, and these are the recessive traits. And then the different possibilities that we had also discussed, especially in terms of that marrying to the immediate sibling, not siblings, immediate cousins, and so on, and what are the possibilities of passing on the genetic disorders. Now there is something apart from autosomal traits is called as Y chromosome linked traits. Now the name itself says quite a lot of it. So a particular gene, when it is located on the Y chromosome and when it is being passed on to the next generation, we'll call it Y chromosome linked trait, and if it is being expressed, of course. So the gene for such traits are present on Y chromosome, and any trait that is linked to Y chromosome is found only in males, because obviously females does not have Y chromosome. They have only XX, that is 2X chromosome, and males we have one X and one Y chromosome. So these Y linked traits, they will be only found in males and not in females. And let's say for example the father is affected by this a particular genetic disorder or particular trait we are talking about, then the sons from that father will always have it. The reason being, the Y chromosome which has been passed on to the son of that particular father will always have that same Y chromosome which is coming from the father, and none of the daughters will ever exhibit that particular trait. So if there is a particular genetic disorder which is only on the Y chromosome, it cannot or it can never happen to the a girl child. It will only happen to the like a male child or the son of that particular couple. So I hope this part is clear. Any question, anyone here? Neeraj, any question?
No, sir.
Okay.
So what kind of things can be an example of the traits? Can it be any kind of things?
So there are actually quite a few. So Y chromosome I had shown here in this diagram is relatively short. So if this X chromosome has, let's say, somewhere around 10,000 of genes, this will hardly have 700 to 800 genes. So I'm not sure what all these genes are as of now. So, but yeah, there are quite a few traits. Of course, if there are 700 or 800 genes, they are going to decide for certain traits. So that way it is. But there is one thing that we'll see at the end, that is SRY gene, which is located on the Y chromosome. That one trait for sure we are going to study. So these are all the Y-linked traits. Now, there is something called as X-linked traits. Within that, it will be X-linked dominant and X-linked recessive trait. Now, for example, X-linked dominant traits, again the name itself will says quite a lot. The gene or that allele is located on the X chromosome. Now, this can be with male or this can be with female, because X chromosome is present in both. So the encoding gene for such traits is located on the X chromosome, and the mutant allele is dominant in this trait. And the features will be, the inheritance is vertical. Vertical is as in it is passed down from generation to generation, and it is found in all the generations. That is the characteristic. Why it will be the case? Because it is dominant. If it is passed on to a particular individual, whether male or female, if it is a dominant trait, it is bound to express, and that is why it will always be found in all the generation across the vertical of that hierarchy. If a female is affected, half of the sons are also affected, because if the female is affected, that means there is a quite likely that chance that she has both the genes which are dominant and both are showing the phenotype. So the sons which are only having one X chromosome will always have it, right? I guess I will explain this part quickly on the board. Otherwise, it may not be clear. So let me just spotlight. Okay, so male we have XY. This X chromosome may or may not be affected, but and the female will have XX, and now we have to show that female is affected. So I am just writing as XA, XA, right? That is affected. A stands for affected. Even if we assume that male is perfectly normal and the female is affected, that means she has certain disease, disorder, or a particular trait. That's what we mean by affected. Now let's say in this case the gametes form will be X and Y, and in this case the gametes form will be XA and XA, right? Now based on the permutation combinations, right, we can have different possibilities. Again, I'm not doing this slow because we have done this quite a lot of times. So these are the four possibilities. So we have X, XA, that is carrier. Then we will have again X, XA, again the carrier. Then we will have XA, Y. This is affected son, and then we will have another XA, Y. This is again affected son. Now, the sons, when they are having this child, the possibility of having the son from the affected mother is all of them, they will, because they are having the X chromosome, like half of the chromosome from the mother, which is always affected, and it is dominant. So that means it is going to show the phenotype in the all the male child, but in the female, they will always be the carrier. Now, if I change this to father also being affected, right? Then in that case, what will just change is if I put A here, it will be XA, and then it will change XA, and also in this case. All of them, they are affected, right? So that means because both the chromosomes that are having, or all the set of X chromosomes, they are all having the affected allele. So in that case, all of them will always have this particular disease or disorder. So that is just the how the dominance would work in case of this X-linked dominant trait. So that is if the female is affected, half of her sons they are also affected. If the male is affected, all the daughters will also be affected. Now imagine in case of if the only male is affected and we are doing the same type of cross, and then how the scenario will change. So I will not read out that particular statement because in that case no sons will be affected because it is not Y linked but it is X linked, and there is no male to male transmission. That is the outcome of this X linked dominant traits. If you are not following this, always try to go by this type of process that we are doing. It becomes a little more easier to understand it. Then there is something called as X linked recessive trait, which like the example is color blindness being one of the X linked recessive disorder. So now in such type of trait, the mutant allele is recessive to the wild type allele. Wild type is nothing but the normal allele, and the other one, that is mutated one, is the recessive one. That is what they are referring to. So the features again in this are this is expressed only by the homozygous females. So if it is recessive allele and if it is present in the homozygous female, like both the alleles are homozygous, that means same, and both of them are mutant, then only this disease will be present there. But if it is like not homozygous, which like not homozygous as in heterozygous, so one of the allele is mutated and one of the allele is normal. So in that case, obviously the mutant allele or the affected allele is recessive. So the dominant one is going to get expressed, which is normal. So that particular female will not have any of these traits. only homozygous females will show the trait because both the alleles there are mutated or affected. In case of hemizygous males, or what are hemizygous refers to half of the set of their chromosome is X chromosome. That is what is hemizygous. Like heterozygous males, they are nothing but the hemizygous males. Just the terminology is used differently here. Now, again, another case, if the female is the carrier means only half of her genes, they are having the affected allele. That is, she is heterozygous. That is when she will be a carrier. About half of her sons are affected. Again, I guess this example would be best if we do it on the board. No, but I guess we will do that as an exercise here. Okay, I will skip that part because we are going to do all those exercises in the last part. So I will skip that part here, which we will see whether it's color blindness or any particular disease. It will be passed on based on whether it is recessive or dominant. It will be passed on to next generation, like relatively the same way. If it is dominant, it is bound to express. If it is recessive and only one allele is present, which is recessive, then obviously it will not get expressed because there is dominant one. If both are recessive, that is homozygous female, it is bound to show that particular phenotype. In this case, it is color blindness. Again, I'm skipping this. We had seen that. Now, certain diseases or disorders which are X chromosome linked, and we are going to look at their inheritance, especially in terms of the color blindness and hemophilia. Color blindness, I guess you know what color blindness is. Hemophilia specifically is again a type of genetic disorder where the blood fails to clot. So blood clotting does not happen. Sometimes it happens late, or sometimes it does not happen at all. So depending on the severity of that particular mutation or that particular disorder, it will vary from individuals. But the reason for reason for hemophilia to happen is the blood fails to clot. Uh, so like such defects, like these X-linked defects, they are usually due to the recessive genes. If it is dominant genes, they are always going to express. But in these two cases, they are specifically X-linked recessive disorders, and because they are present on the X chromosome, and the genes which are coding for color blindness as well as hemophilia, they are recessive. So that is why it is X-linked recessive inheritance. Again, yeah, that description of the diseases we had already done, so I will not go into these two points. Now, imagine the X and Y chromosomes, they are physically different from one another, in that the Y chromosome is much shorter, and that is what I showed you in the karyotype somewhere here. Yeah, so Y chromosome is drastically different compared to the X chromosome in terms of its physical appearance. So, and the Y chromosome only has about the 9 gene loci that match those on the X chromosome. So that means there are certain genes on X chromosome, there are certain genes on Y chromosome, and only 9 of them, they match with each other in terms of their compatibility. But otherwise, the rest other genes, they are very much different. That is what the statement says. This means that except for the genes on the XY pair of chromosome, we have 2 copies of the gene and one from each parent. So some of the genes which are specific to males and some of the genes which are specific to females, apart from them, we have always a double copy of the gene, right? Because you remember, Y chromosome will decide the sex of the child. Like if the Y chromosome present, the child will be male. If it is absent, that will be female. And so in that aspect, if you look at the genetic makeup of the male child and the female child coming from the same parent, they will have 2 copies of the gene, which is a universal rule. But apart from that, there will be certain genes which are only present in males, and these are those 9 gene loci. and in female there will be something else. So that is how the distinction is being done. We will see this, what are these gene loci exactly. Gene loci, that means a particular gene location. Just don't go by that word. It's the just the particular gene location on the chromosome. That is what is called as gene loci. Okay, so now the most important part of understanding all these sex-linked chromosomal disorders. So assume that the father is completely normal, that is unaffected father, and there is mother which is the carrier. That means only one of the allele out of two X chromosome is carrying a recessive allele. Yeah, the pattern will change if it is recessive and dominant. So we are talking of the recessive allele. So mother is unaffected, means that means she is not showing the phenotype, but she is the carrier. Father is completely unaffected. So we have these XY and XS. So when they like they will produce a child, the possibilities of having the children are these four. Now they can either have unaffected sons, that means the X chromosome, sorry, the Y chromosome from the male and the X chromosome which is blue. I will call this as a blue X now for the time being. So Y chromosome and blue X, that will produce unaffected son. If it is this blue X from the male and the blue X from the female, they will produce unaffected daughter. Now assume that it is affected son, so obviously it has to have this red X and the Y chromosome. Y chromosome, so it will be male, and this red X, so it is affected. So this son will be affected son. And the last possible combination is the X blue from the male with the red X from the female. She will be like unaffected, but the carrier daughter, because again she is reproducing the genotype which is same like mother, that is half is normal which is dominant and half is mutant or affected which is carrier. So that way, now this is because recessive. If this allele was dominant, so let's say X linked dominant allele, so only these two cases would be different, right? This will obviously be affected always because that red X is getting carried. So this son will always be affected, whether it is X linked dominant or whether it is X linked recessive. If the female which is getting this X, now if we have changed it to dominant, that is X linked dominant allele, and the moment it is dominant, that means it is going to express in this female. So from unaffected she will turn to affected and not the carrier one. She will be affected daughter. I hope the difference is clear from these different combinations. So the
So,
yes.
so you mean when the X-linked recessive allele becomes dominant, the person, the girl, she will become affected instead of unaffected carrier.
Sorry, can you please repeat it?
So when the X-linked recessive allele, you're saying when it becomes dominant, so the daughter, instead of being unaffected carrier daughter, she'll become affected. Then what happens to the son?
Son will be affected always, because in this case, see, this is the other son which is getting normal X chromosome or blue X chromosome from male and the another blue X chromosome from female. So that possibility, in this case, blue X chromosome and the blue X chromosome from male as well as female, that will be unaffected daughter. If it is the Y chromosome from male and the normal blue X chromosome from the female, that will be son, so it will be unaffected. But when the red one gets transferred to the son, that is X chromosome, obviously Y will be from the male, so that will always be affected. So if it is this son which is getting the allele, so whether it is recessive or dominant, in both of the cases, sun will always be affected. This sun I'm talking about, not this sun. Yeah, so the possibility of this sun having this mutated allele, whether dominant or recessive, will always be affected, and this will never be affected because it is carrying the normal blue uh, type of or set of chromosome from both the parents.
Okay.
Okay, so moving forward, now just in continuation to that, we are going to see something which is like the example of Drosophila. Drosophila is one of the species which is very, very widely studied for all the genetics experiment, especially if they are evolution related. Like Drosophila is one of those tiny fruit flies. So now, for example, when a gene is present on X chromosome but not on Y chromosome, it is X-linked. That is quite obvious. An X-linked gene can have different inheritance patterns than autosome because they are either dominant or recessive, so they can have different inheritance patterns. And also, one of the other reason is because they have different copy numbers. So females will have 2X chromosome, male will have 1X chromosome, and depending on those possibility of the sons or daughters, the pattern will change. Uh, okay, there is nothing in the second point. So for instance, in the fruit fly, that is Drosophila, which like humans has XX female and XY males. Now I don't know if I mentioned this fact. Not all the species which are non-mammalian species, they have this Y chromosome. Some of the animal species or some of the like other species, they have distinction of the gender based on either 2X chromosome or only 1X chromosome. They don't have Y chromosome at all. So if it is 2X chromosome, it will be female, and if it is only 1X chromosome, it will be male without any involvement of the Y chromosome. So there are certain species, this Y chromosome came into picture through the process of evolution, and that happened much later in the evolutionary tree. But in Drosophila, this genetic makeup of the gender determination or sex determination is same like human. That is, XX will be females and XY will be males. So there is an eye color gene called white. So now this can get a little complicated because we are talking of the color codings and so on. So there is this eye color gene which is called as white gene in the Drosophila, and that's found on the X chromosome. So white gene, which is coding for the eye color of the Drosophila, is present on the X chromosome, and a female fly will have 2 copies of this gene, while the male will have only 1 copy. Obviously, female has XX and male has XY. So if the gene comes in 2 different allele, that is X capital W, that is dominant one, and which will have normal red eyes, and X small w, which will have recessive phenotype and white eyes. So if it is both XW, in case of female, for example, X capital W with X capital W will be dominant, that is homozygous dominant, and that female will have red eyes. If it is X capital W with X small w, the still that female will have red eyes because XW, that capital W being the dominant one, so that is the red eyes. And if it is homozygous recessive, then only it will have white eyes in female. Males, depending on which XW is present, whether the dominant one or the recessive one, the color of the eyes will be decided. So if it is X capital WY, that is dominant, so then it will be red eyes. If it is X small WY, then it will be white eyes. I hope I'm going a little fast, but I hope you are following these things. So depending on which allele is present, the composition of that male or female in terms of phenotype will be decided of the eye color. So for example, it is shown here, both dominant allele, that is homozygous dominant allele in the female because XX, so she will have red eyes, If it is both recessive, then she will have white eyes. And if one dominant and one recessive, dominant will get expressed, so she will still have red eyes. I have tried to color code it here with the X in red color, so that way. Now if where is, yeah, oh, the slide went a little ahead. So imagine now this is a male Drosophila, this is a female Drosophila. It has the male has a dominant uh, allele of X, that is red color of the eye. Female is both recessive, that is homozygous recessive, and that is why she has the white eyes. Now based on the possibility of the combinations, again different possible combination with the Punnett square they have been calculated. One female with one dominant allele, one recessive allele, again red eyes. Then another female with the same one dominant, one recessive, again red eyes. The other male which has the wild type, the white eyes, that is the recessive allele with Y chromosome, it will have white eyes. Again another male child with recessive allele from the female and the Y chromosome from the male will have this white eyes. So these are the possibility of the combination. So based on uh, who is affected or who is carrier or who is carrying wild type, who is carrying recessive genes and so on, you can always predict what are the possibility of these particular offsprings. So based on that, you can also decide what phenotypes they will carry in the next generation if it is X-linked recessive alleles. I hope this part is clear. If anyone has any question, please ask. Uh, I guess it discharged, I guess. Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any question in this specifically X-linked inheritance and in this example of Drosophila? We are just repeating the same Mendel's monohybrid cross with little more specificity in terms of giving it a character.
So the white eyes can also be the dominant one, right? It's not necessary that the continuous.
So that is when we say if it is heterozygous like this, which has dominant as well as recessive, and if the red one is getting expressed, that means red is dominant.
But if the white is getting expressed, that means white is dominant.
Yeah. But white is only getting expressed in this situation. That is, both are recessive alleles. But let's say in the earlier period of evolution, it was to determine which one is dominant, whether red or white. And if the white was expressed in the heterozygous individual, that is in these cases, if the white was getting expressed instead of red, then it would have been white is the dominant. So the scenario totally changes there. Okay, so again, just a little bit of this additional information. So a male has a different genotype that we know than a female, which has X and Y chromosome. Now, for instance, the eye color in the same example that we took, the two genotypes a male can have is X with wild type or the the red color of the eye or the allele. So the male will have red color. And if it is the recessive allele, so this was the dominant allele in the red color, and if it is the recessive allele, the male will have white eyes. So these are the two possibility of the phenotypes a male can have, because it is bound to receive X chromosome copy from the female and Y chromosome from the male. So, and that's when the son or the male child will have these two possibility, one with dominant allele and one with the recessive allele. Of course, this is X-linked, so Y has no chance to express anything there. So these are the two possibilities. Now whatever allele the male fly inherits, that is the male child that will inherit for an X-linked gene will determine his appearance. So for example, again in this case, These are the two males. Now in both the cases it has received the recessive allele, that is for white eyes. So it has gotten white eyes in the phenotype. But if these were the dominant allele for the red eyes, then they would have gotten those red eyes. So depending on which allele they are inheriting for the X-linked gene, that will decide the appearance, because it has no other X chromosomal copy. And if even if the allele is recessive in female, in that case also, if that particular allele is getting transferred to male, then also it will still express the same phenotype of being recessive. Now with male, this is recessive and it is showing the phenotype of white. For female, if it has to be white, it has to be both recessive. So that way it differs from what pattern or what alleles are being inherited by the male as well as the female. Now just this hemizygous terminology is being described here. Rather than using homozygous or heterozygous, males are said to be hemizygous because they have only half set of X-linked genes, and that is why they are called as hemizygous. So in homozygous females, they have same alleles. Heterozygous female, they have different allele. And in males, we have only half of this X chromosome, so we can't say homozygous or heterozygous. So instead we say hemizygous. Okay, so this will be your homework. So you are going to find out different possibilities of, like, obviously in that Punnett square, you take affected father for the height, that is small h is the recessive allele, capital H is the tall person, small h is the short person. Now this is heterozygous, it has capital H, that means the tall gene is present there. So obviously the offspring is going to be tall, or the mother is going to be tall here. And if it is passing on this dominant allele, the offspring is also going to be tall. So capital H stands for the dominant allele representing the tall height. Small h represents the recessive allele showing the short height phenomena. So you will do the Punnett square for these four and you will understand what are the different phenotypes being shown. Also, don't just write the possibility of the combination, for example x small h and x capital H, but what phenotype does it exhibit, that also you need to write, whether it's affected or carrier. If you don't want to use this terminology affected and carrier, you can also use the phenotype of height. Like this particular individual will be short heighted, this will again be short heighted, this third one will be tall heighted, this one will again be short heighted, this female will be tall heighted because it has dominant, this female it has both recessive, so it will be short heighted, this will be short heighted, this will be tall heighted. So based on that, you can also write the phenotype instead of saying affected and carrier. So that is totally up to you how you want to write. So please as a homework, do these four process, and then we will be done with this whole of the genetics. As such, we don't even have to revise. If you have understood these four different process, then you actually have understood the whole of the genetics. So that is the crux, and that's why I'm giving you these four different cases of case study. Though it says cases of hemophilia, it doesn't matter whichever phenotype you take. So as of now, we are like I said, you can make it like for a height, and that should still be okay. Those who are understanding a little more, they can take the case of hemophilia and they can say affected father or carrier mother and so on. So that way, in that case, this will be a mutant allele and the capital H will be the dominant as well as normal allele. So that is the phenomena. Now just a small thing that we are left off, and then the additional information, and then we are done with this chapter. So with respect to blood grouping, right, that is also something which is genetic. So for some of the alleles, there is no dominance because either they are recessive or there is codominance, or there is interference. There are so many terminologies or phenomena which happens when there is no dominance. And the phenotypes, they result from both the alleles being expressed uh, from the blending of the phenotype. You remember I had also mentioned of the color of the eye. Even the father has blue eyes, mother has brown eyes, and the son or the daughter has green eyes, right? It's totally different, right? So that is usually because of the blending of the phenotype. And like I said, it's not just the color mixing, it's the protein-protein interaction. So you should not imagine blue father and brown mother eye color, and that is mixing. So blue and brown mixing should give you something like purple also. That is not the case. Yeah, it is protein-based interaction. So it will be can be drastically different. And the expression is an average or combination of the two traits. So in the case of eye color also, it is usually the average of the present phenotype from the parents, or it can be combination of the two different traits. So again, the same is the case with the blood type in humans as well. So you know how the blood, like how are these blood groups decided in general. So there is a specific genes that will code for a protein which determines the individual blood type. So for example, there can be A, B, or AB. And this is determined by the single gene that has all the three alleles that codes for either A antigen or B antigen or no antigen. There is nothing called as AB or there is nothing called as O as well. It's only presence of A, presence of B antigen, or absence of these antigens. Right? Now, there are these three alleles such as like just two of them, like any two of them, when the possible combination and the resulting blood types are those shown in the table below. I guess I haven't put the table, but I can like tell you. So A antigen, when it is present, the person will have A blood group. B antigen is present, then person will have B blood group. When both the antigens are present, that is A as well as B, that will be blood group AB. And when there is no antigen present, either A or B, that will have O blood group. So that is how the combination of the blood group works. So that is again a possibility. So like this AB is nothing but the example of the codominance, or even the absence of AB is again another example of codominance, which is not showing any phenotype, but it is still the codominance of this A and B gene where these antigens are absent. So that is how the blood grouping is being determined in the individuals. And the last part, and it was also related to some of the questions when someone had asked. I don't remember if it was your class, but yeah. So one of the question was, how are these intersex child uh, formed? Like during the birth time itself, they are transgender, or they do not have male reproductive parts, or they do not have complete female reproductive parts, or third possibility, they can have both reproductive parts at the same time. So there are possibilities of those. Now how does that happen? So that is related to your sex determination process, and in detail if you have to look at that sex determination process, it is related to something which is called as SRY, which is sex determining region of Y chromosome. So on Y chromosome there is a sex determining region, that is a particular gene which we call as SRY gene. Now like based on like what is the possibility of combination. Now we have already studied meiosis process. During the prophase of this meiosis, there is this crossover that happens, crossover of the genes, which we had specifically shown in the blue and the red, and the small part of red shifts to blue chromosome and small part of blue shifts to red chromosome. So that way they exchange a part of it, and that is what we had concluded, that it leads to variation. I hope you remember that part. Now imagine the same thing happening with the X and Y chromosome. So the XX embryo, they do not have any SRY gene, because obviously they do not have the sex determining region of the Y chromosome, so they will develop as a female child. While the XY embryos, they will always have this sex determining region of the Y, because there is presence of Y chromosome, so they will develop as male. Now, in rare of the cases, errors during meiosis may transfer the SRY from Y chromosome to the X chromosome. So, let's say the meiosis during the gamete formation is happening. So, the sperms are getting produced in the male reproductive structure, and there the meiosis is happening. So, the gamete formation is going to happen, that is the sperm formation, and the X and Y chromosome, they are overlapping with each other, and they are exchanging during that early prophase, that is prophase 1. So what will happen is, if this SRY gene, which is present on the Y chromosome, if it is getting transferred to X chromosome during that overlap or exchange process, then we will have SRY region present on X chromosome as well. It will fertilize the normal egg, because this will be present in the sperm containing X chromosome, right? There are always sperms with X chromosome and sperms with Y chromosome, that is the gametes, right? So let's say the X chromosome, which was formed during this overlap or faulty overlap, for the moment we can say, which has this SRY region, it will still fertilize the normal egg. It will produce a chromosomally female embryo, that is because X chromosome from the male, that is with SRY, and the X chromosome from the female or the partner, that will create XX embryo, which will develop as a male. Why as a male, even though it is XX? Because it has this SRY. Yeah, I hope you are getting this. Sex determining region on Y chromosome is present during that overlap process. It shifts to X chromosome. This changed X chromosome with SRY is getting transferred to the next generation. Child has to be female, because X from female, X from male and X from female, they are fusing. So XX should ideally form female. But because there is a presence of the sex determining region of Y on this X, one of the X chromosome, it will develop as a male child. That's where the conflict comes. So ideally, genetically, child has to be female, but because of that SRY gene, it is developing as a male. So there is a possibility that the person is having half of the male body in terms of reproductive structure, and half of the female structure, or it can be completely male reproductive structure with internal female reproductive organs. So that way, depending on what is the expression of that particular SRY gene, this scenario will be different. Now, if an SRY deficient Y chromosome fertilizes the normal egg. Now, in other case, there is a Y chromosome. So, in this earlier case, what we had seen was, when the gamete formation or when the sperm formation was happening, the SRY gene from the Y chromosome has shifted to X chromosome. So Y chromosome as such did not have any SRY gene there. So that Y chromosome, which is deficient of SRY now, if it fertilizes a normal egg, it will produce a chromosomally male embryo, that is XY. But without this, Y is without SRY now. So that will develop a female in terms of phenotype. So genotypically it will be XY, but phenotypically it will be female. In the earlier case, genotypically it is a female, but phenotypically it will be a male child. So that is what is the possibility of that intersex individuals in the process of sex determination. Okay, with this I am done with the genetics. If you have any questions,